Welcome back to Local Decision, and thank you for joining us. I'm Rusty Ray. We're going through the candidates for Blaine City Council ahead of the primaries later this summer, and we're joined now by the candidate out of Ward 1 for the special election on a 2-year seat. It's Saroya. Lori, thank you for being here today.
Thank you for having me.
Tell us a little bit about yourself and your family here in Blaine.
Yeah, so we've lived here in Blaine for 17 years in the same house. The house that I live in was actually a wedding gift for my husband.
Wow.
So it's very sentimental to us. So this is our home, like this is where we're raising our kids. So we have 3 kids, 11, 6, and 2. And, my husband works in the corporate sector in the Twin Cities. I have a law degree. I moved here for college. I grew up in a really small farming community in the Midwest. So this was actually a big town for me when I moved here. And I've absolutely loved Blaine, especially Ward 1. I feel like Ward 1 is really the heart and soul of Blaine.
Tell me more about why you love Blaine and raising your kids here and maybe the opportunities. Then what does Blaine have going for it?
Well, I think the National Sports Center is probably the biggest thing here. So my son is a huge soccer fan and player. He's been playing soccer since he was 2.5 years old. He's on the Twin Cities Rush team, which is formerly the Blaine Soccer Club. And he's going to a competition in Colorado next week. So there's so many opportunities for him right here in Blaine, 5 minutes from our home. And I think just the culture of the city as well is something I really love and respect. There's anything I need is right here within like 5-10 minutes. And it's a very safe community. It's, our neighborhood has changed a lot. We have a lot of new young families that have moved into our neighborhood, and you see the kids riding their bikes and playing outside. So it still has that small town feel to it that I grew up in, where the kids are, selling lemonade on the corner, and you don't really see that in like some of the bigger cities. And I also like that it's the largest city in Anoka County, so there is, a lot of prosperity. There is a lot going on. I mean, we have so much happening here in Blaine.
Do you see any opportunities or perhaps challenges for the city to move forward and to maybe grow into difference or changing in any way?
Definitely. I think the Northtown property is a really big challenge. And that's why I say that Ward 1 is really the heart and soul of Blaine, because there's so much opportunity and challenges in our ward. And so the Northtown property, everyone is talking about this in Ward 1. And there is a really great project plan, right? And how do we get that funded? How do we get it done where people don't have to go to Rosedale or Coon Rapids or Maple Grove to do their shopping? They can stay right here in Blaine and spend their dollars here, right? And keep the money here. So that's a big project that I really want to focus on. And also dealing with some of the issues. I was out door knocking and I met with a man who said it took him nearly 45 years to pay off his house. And once you do that, it's really hard to, when you've lived in a place for 45 years, you're not moving, right? You're settled. And now he has, a homeless encampment near his home. He's dealing with, just a lot of different challenges that we're, dealing with in what's called the old Blaine. And it shouldn't be like that, right? It's, like we have great families. We have so many great things happening in our community. The National Sports Center, the golf course, Northtown Mall, there is Aquator Park. There's so much there that we can really help make even bigger and better and really build a strong community that we can really be proud of in Ward 1.
Well, what do you think? What can you say to somebody that's a very specific concern,
right.
And it may be similar or it may kind of mirror other concerns, development, and
right.
What can you say to that? Do you have any ideas or do you have any specific when it comes to development or zoning or things like that?
Yeah, definitely. I think there has been a lot of focus on development in Blaine generally, right? So we've seen a lot of my friends and neighbors have actually moved out to like the 125th area, Ward 2, Ward 3. And I don't want to see that happening. And that's one of the reasons I'm running, because I want to advocate for Ward 1. I think Ward 1 is a beautiful community. And there's so much history there. There's just so many great people that live there. And I don't want to see people moving out, even out of Blaine, where they're moving to like the 3-acre, 5-acre land because they're remote. And so how do we retain them, right? How do we satisfy the people that have spent their entire lives paying off their houses and now they have these challenges, right? So one of the things I really want to do is hold community town halls. I feel like in Ward 1 especially, there has been a lot of disconnect. We haven't been very engaged with our neighbors, with our city council. and having town halls, having a community safety town hall, for example, would be a great great idea. We have an amazing police department here in Blaine. I met with the police chief, and his vision and ideas I was really impressed with. So, but communicating that message to the residents and how we can work together with our local police to talk about safety and talk about building community and how we're funding these projects, right? So, so there's a lot that we need to do, but we need to do it together. And it's really about getting the community engaged and informed before we do anything.
The one thing that stood out to me in the information you provided for us to put on our website, and we appreciate that. We ask all candidates to do that. You mentioned very specifically one of your bullet points about advocating or providing better resources for young people, mental health resources, anti-bullying types of things. Where can a city play a role? Obviously, the school district can do something, and a lot of people would argue needs to do more. But what can a city do to help in that regard?
Yeah, so I have my background, I have a law degree, and my background is in civil rights and constitutional law. So I've seen a lot of cases of harassment and bullying in schools. I actually, helped with the cases here in the district where there was an epidemic of suicides involving our youth. And it's still going on. People think it's over. It's unfortunately not over. Just last month, there was a suicide in our school district of a middle school student. And so, so we need to look at the, mental health issues. We need to look at, the bullying and the harassment that's going on. And what I've learned is that the bullying and harassment isn't just contained in the schools. It starts in the community, and so when we're doing the outreach, when we're reaching out to people and building those bridges and really understanding, like, what are their struggles? Like, what is the fear? What are they really dealing with as a resident of Blaine? Once we address those issues and, they really have a support system and an opportunity to really thrive and succeed, I feel like those cases go down. So it's not, I don't think it's just limited to schools. If a kid is bullying another kid, he or she is likely dealing with issues at home, probably being bullied himself. And the parents are probably bullying their neighbors. There's other underlying issues that go with that. And as a community, we need to be on the forefront of that. And again, doing these town halls and forums and talking about community safety and mental health, I think we're at that point now as a city where I've seen us change so much in 17 years, and we're at that point where we just need to keep moving forward as a community.
It sounds like you would advocate for just being more available to the community and putting yourself in a position where there's a forum or there's a place to answer questions and things like that.
Absolutely. So my background is in advocacy, right? So I would definitely be an advocate for Ward 1. Because when I talk to people, there's always a sense of, well, we're being neglected in Ward 1. And I don't believe that's true. I think we have an amazing city council that has a great vision, of new energy, new ideas. And I'm really excited to be a part of that, where we can keep moving Blaine forward. And so what I tell people is that there are opportunities for you to engage with the city council. And if I can help facilitate that and help, be that bridge so they can understand what's already happening, and also we can understand what their ideas and what their vision is for the city and the community.
Another way you're using your law degree in one aspect is as part of the Charter Commission for the city, working with the city code and the city laws and things like that. Why do you feel like that helps you in this pursuit? And I guess more specifically, you kind of touched on it just a moment ago, but I want to ask you again, why now run for city councils, particularly in this seat? It's a 2-year race. And so is there any reason why you decided this versus the 4-year that's available, or why now for you?
Yeah, so I think, so I'll answer the other part first. The Charter Commission, I've been a member of the Charter Commission for 7 years, and I'm very detail oriented, so I do look at, all the, if there's a word missing, I'm the one that will catch it oftentimes on the Charter Commission and make sure we don't pass something that's going to create problems for the city 10, 20 years from now. So looking at, and I also look at things from a possible liability issue, right? So making sure we are doing things without incurring liability for the city, that we are, keeping that into consideration. And I have a background in compliance and contracts, so also have that view where I can look at contracts and the city is entering into and compliance issues and making sure we are on top of all of that. And we have an amazing staff. I mean, I definitely don't advocate for city council members getting into the work of staff, because they are extremely qualified, extremely competent, and amazing people that know what they're doing. But if I can be of help and support and an advisor, someone who can provide that support to our staff, I would absolutely love to do that. And why now? That's a really good question. So I think for me it was during the pandemic is really when I decided that I needed to get more involved. I feel like I bring really a new, unique perspective. I'm the daughter of immigrants. I've lived here for 17 years. I've been in numerous leadership positions. I received the Governor's Leadership Award for my community service, and I've done a lot in the Twin Cities. And so for me, it was, this is where I'm raising my kids. This is my home and my community. How can I get more involved here? And actually, the turning point for me was, it was during the pandemic. A lot of people were struggling, and there was a woman that in my community in Blaine that was looking for a birthday cake for her son. Something as simple as that. It's her son's birthday, and she can't afford a cake. And I gave her the cake. So I ended up, getting her a cake, but it just felt so unfulfilling, unsatisfactory. Like what would happen the next year, with this birthday cake? Would she be able to get the help that she needs? Will she be able to get the job that she needs? And just thinking, how many other mothers are there in my community that are struggling and suffering, especially in Ward 1, because we are very different in Ward 1 compared to Wards 2 and 3. So that's really what inspired me. I think it really inspired me to think, how can we do this more strategically, where everyone benefits and everyone thrives and succeeds.
Only a couple of minutes left, and I hate to say that before I ask you about this next thing, but yeah. I do want to note that one thing that kind of divides the wards a little bit, especially 1 and 3, Highway 65. I don't think we can have any conversation without mentioning 65. What role do you see City Council, should you be a part of it, in continuing to build towards a better solution there? Yeah, so I think the City Council has a lot of great ideas, and I've been dealing with this for 17 years. We've been hearing about, getting this done, and my position is my top priority. Let's get it done. My background is in nonprofits, and in nonprofits you fundraise. So it's really about, let's get the money that we need. Let's go to the state legislature, the federal, let's get the grants, and let's just get the money and what we need to get this done. Too many people have died. I mean, it's not just a parking lot. It's not just an inconvenience, although it takes me 30 minutes from 99th to 125th to drop off my daughter at daycare. But for me, it's, a woman died a month ago on 109th, right? Like, that's unacceptable. That's happening in Ward 1, in my neighborhood, in my community. And just no more deaths. Like, let's just fix this so no one else has to die. Okay, and where do you see Blaine in 10 years, no matter what happens in this election? Yeah, I see Blaine continuing to grow and thrive and succeed. I've seen so much development in Blaine, and I think it's really going to become focused more, and I hope it will focus more on the redevelopment in Ward 1, so we don't leave any parts of Blaine behind. I feel like we're all moving forward, and Ward 1 needs to really catch up. So, a new Northtown property, the Highway 65 project, making sure our schools are providing the services that our kids need to be safe in the community. So there's just so much opportunity right now, and I'm really eager to bring my skills and my talents and put them to use here in Blaine. All right, Lori, we're going to leave it right there. I appreciate your time today. Thanks for your time as well.